Check that shit out, man, the internet. Let's see if those wrote something new about us or that stupid-ass flick.
Something you want to add to this briefing, Captain Hiller?
No, sir. Just a little anxious to get up there and whoop E.T.'s ass, that's all.
All right, look. There's only one return, okay? And it ain't of the king, it's of the Jedi.
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein, and I want to know what the you're doing with my time.
Would you like to know more?
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I am, of course, Mike the Birdman, and this is Future Imperfect, the Tweak Show where we talk about all things sci-fi. It could be stuff that's actually happening, could be older movies, it could be, well, just anything we find interesting that kind of involves things that aren't necessarily swords, sorceries, and wizards. But today, I'm not alone as I travel to the event horizon of a black hole with the dumbest name I've ever heard. I'm joined by my brother, my compatriot from the city of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
Alex, the producer.
And of course, my good buddy, probably the smartest guy that I know from the wonderful lands of Lansing, Michigan, beyond the wormhole.
I'm Aaron Pollyea.
And today, folks, we are again continuing kind of our series where we just look at movies that we maybe might have missed over the last decade or so. And this was one that I pitched and I figured might have been, and this is no shade, might have been more well received because I figured, hey, it's well known. It's people in the science community like it, I think. And it's a guy that we all know and like. He made the Batman movies. We're going to be talking about 2014's Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. I had not seen it.
Yeah, you
prior to
pitched
this
it.
record.
You pitched it, and you said, "How about this in The Martian?" Which is interesting because I haven't seen The Martian.
Oh, Martian's really fun.
But
I
had seen this, and I said, maybe a better fit would be Ad Astra. And then upon further reflection, I said, maybe we should split these into two because they're two long movies that we don't necessarily want to do together.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, I went into this movie today thinking, all right, I'm going to have such a good time. I'm going to be involved. It's got a great cast. Everybody loves Christopher Nolan. Cool. And what I got was, all right, that's Michael Caine. Cool. Oh, fucking Catwoman's in this, and Matt Damon? Didn't know you were in this.
The best thing that Nolan has going for him is he's the last guy that when a movie comes out from him, I go, okay, Michael Caine is still going to get his retirement check because he's openly said he's the only person he's going to work for anymore, and on the condition that they film his scenes at his home because he does, he's elderly and does not want to fly or do anything. He's essentially said, I'm retired unless Christopher calls me. So
wow.
It's always good, when one of these movies comes up because you're like, okay, at least Michael Caine's going to be in it as long as he's healthy enough. And you know that at the very least, it's going to be filmed on film for the most part and have a pretty striking visual look. Only problem is, I think this was the movie where you started to really see Christopher Nolan pare back his cinematography so that it looked more bland.
Yeah, this was a movie that, because typically here on Future Imperfect, we kind of go around the table and just see what everybody's experience with this movie. What I remember specifically about Interstellar when this came out back in 2014, I remember there being advertisements for it everywhere that told you precisely nothing. And I thought it had easily one of the worst posters for what was essentially a big blockbuster from a giant name. It's basically Matthew McConaughey standing in like knee-deep water. There's like a spaceship. And I was like, okay, what the hell does that have to do with anything? It makes sense once you see the movie, but even then, that entire scene takes about 10 minutes and then you're out of there. I was like, that's it. And I don't know, like, I really felt like I was saving this movie for something special. Like, it's going to be awesome. And not going to lie, guys, with 10 years of buildup, 10 years plus, I was really thinking, I said this in our group chat. The only thing I didn't say was like, that's it. Yeah, I'm very underwhelmed, and I'm really afraid of people coming at me saying, you didn't understand it. You're not smart enough. And
no, it's okay. I'll take the heat off of you because I'm the guy that doesn't like Dunkirk, which was his next movie. And we're not talking about that movie other than to say that when I made
I thought it was cool.
I made those comments online that I didn't like it, and oh boy, did the war historian people come after me.
See,
And I was like,
I'll say I liked it, but I totally understand why people didn't. So,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like he has a, I will give him this. He has a unique vision and style for every movie that he like. Going into it, it's a Nolan movie. So that for the most part, I think that's good because we lack a lot of that now with nothing that Nolan puts out ever looks like he has corporate interference.
Yeah.
Nobody tells him how to make his movie because they've all been successful financially, regardless of if critically or whatever, or even subjectively people like them. So I argue that his movies have gotten worse with each film. That like he started high with a low budget concept with like Memento, Insomnia. Insomnia was a remake, but still, like, and then Batman Begins. I think he peaked at Dark Knight and Prestige.
Yeah, I would agree actually.
And Inception, I thought was overrated.
Mhm.
Cool idea, and it inspired a lot of other people's fan fiction and stuff afterwards. Visually interesting. Dark Knight Rises, I didn't really care for. Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet was one of the most nonsensical things ever. If we ever get to that,
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, I hated the audio design. It was so blown out. You could barely hear anybody talking. Now, in recent years, apparently he's come out. He was always really uber over defensive of it, saying like, "Well, you just need to see it in the proper cinema," and it's like, MFR, I went to a cinema that was showing it with Dolby Atmos and everything the way he said you wanted, and it still sounded like shit. And it comes out that it's because he insists on filming a lot of his movies with IMAX cameras, but they're the IMAX film cameras, which are not designed to be to have people recording audio at the same time. IMAX cameras, traditionally, you would do an overdub because they're usually documentary stuff. The cameras are wildly loud. Well, he finally said, okay, I'll admit it. It's because we're trying to record and capture in person, and then he does his ADR and it doesn't quite match up. So apparently his new film, The Odyssey, coming out, is the first one using IMAX digital cameras. So we'll see if his audio sounds different. But this wasn't quite as egregious as some of the other ones where it sounds like blown out. Mm-hmm. But I can see why. I remember it was advertised big, like you said, Mike, but I can see why a lot of people don't remember it.
Yeah, like I feel like nobody talks about this movie, and I figure Aaron, because you're a big science guy, I figure like a lot of Star Trek nerds would like this, and I don't hear anybody talk about this movie at all.
I never saw it in the theater. The trailers that I watched, I remember thinking, okay, I know what happens in the movie. And the only thing that sort of interested me about the film was the science, like the science that was being done for the film. Like they had really good scientific advisors on the movie. And so like it's the first time that a really, really good simulation of a black hole is shown with the proper kind of, distortions around it. Hey, you know what? I watched it for our review here for the first time. Visually, the movie is amazing. It is more than I thought it would be. I was very impressed with it, but just like I said when I first saw the trailers, I know exactly what happens in the film. There was no surprises. None of the characters to me were very interesting. I didn't care about any of the dialogue. The pacing was uneven.
Yeah, it's not glacial, but it's like it's odd.
Yeah, and it just it's like 2.5 hours, and it felt like 5.
It drags.
When I saw it in theaters, I remember this is one of the first movies, being 11 years ago, that usually I turn my phone off, but I kept looking at my phone being like, how far into this are we? Like I was waiting for it to be over so I could get up and leave, but I didn't want to leave.
And there were many times in the film that I honestly thought I should just start skipping ahead.
And I know you don't usually do that.
Yeah, no, I don't do that because I try to take notes, and I could not take notes in this. like I don't know, the problem started right from the beginning with me, and it was like, wow, the setting is pretty bleak. I don't like any of this. Like, oh, here's like this voiceover about how it was when I was a kid. And I'm like, okay, well, you're already telegraphing what happens right away with this voiceover. But like the world is really bleak, and then it starts going into the whole it's dangerous teaching about how we landed on the moon because teaching actual history is dangerous. And I'm like, man, come on. I'm here
Yeah,
for a science
that was
fiction
like,
film.
what? Yeah, that
No,
kind of
no, I mean,
confused me.
I'm here for a science fiction film. I don't need to be reminded about reality. It's I don't know. If I had to like give like an overall feeling about this movie, it's on the lower end of That's the best way
Yeah.
I can describe it. I don't hate it. I mean, like I said, it's visually amazing. The technical details of this movie are really impressive. I love the spacecraft. I love Endurance. It's just everything outside of that is bland and uninteresting, or actively trying to like it just sort of irritates me.
One of the things that when I was watching this, I found I was the opposite of Alex. I was actually engaged because Alex knows I'm bad for playing on my phone, but I was watching this and I'm thinking, am I stupid? Because I feel like I'm missing what's going on here.
So
Because I
you
definitely,
were drawn in by how baffled you were.
yeah. And much like Aaron, I was like, what the hell is going on? And like, why do I care about these people? And it's not like because this is a really likable cast. Let's get that
Yeah.
out of the way. And I'm not big on Matthew McConaughey movies, but this one I really enjoyed him in it. But it just felt, I don't want to say it was a bad performance, but it felt like very sleepwalky. And one of the things that I did notice, like, and this triggered a memory when I was watching it, when the ending happens. We'll summarize the movie really quickly in a minute. Um, but the twist was spoiled because this is the internet era, right? And I kept thinking, okay, how the fuck is this gonna work out? And when the twist happened, I was like, what? And I don't know. Like Alex, you said, I was baffled by it because, like, I get why things are happening, why things are going the way that they're supposed to go, but I know the stakes are super high. This is the potential extinction of the human race. We go to this planet for every hour we spend on it. 7 happen in real time on Earth or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. I love the science. I love time dilation because that's something I still kind of struggle to understand, especially like in Star Trek when it comes to like how warp and time dilation works and why there's warp bubbles and all that shit.
For a better understanding of this, we'll probably have to play Exodus when it comes out from the former BioWare devs, because that's what their entire game's going to be about, is traveling through space, but making the right choices, taking certain crew members with you, but you have to choose carefully because when you leave, you may come back and it might only be a couple of weeks, but years could have gone by for whoever wasn't on the ship with you.
Yeah, so
It's a
like,
cool idea.
yeah, like the thing that drew me into suggesting this is because, again, the idea of a black hole with planets surrounding it. I'm like, I was curious today, so I did a little bit of side research, and I found out this is a theoretical thing. I don't think it's ever been truly observed because we only have recently seen a black hole in the last little while where we've actually got like a photograph of it. But I was like, is this theoretically possible? Yes, it is. But
Yeah.
from what I understand, being around a black hole, I certainly wouldn't want to be around one because of radiation for one. And just the odd cosmic chance that, it decides you're the matter it's gonna destroy today.
You either spaghettify or have like weird random particles shoot at the speed of light through your body towards it or whatever.
Like there's some explanation. There's some explanation in the movie about it. About like why it's sort of safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that, like, I don't think it's supposed to be rotating. But if it is rotating, it should be having like a really wicked magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's doing that, it's going to be accelerating particles regardless. Now, I think they also try to say that like, hey, it's not actually it's not actually drawing in any material, so it doesn't have like these amazing radiation
disk or
jets.
whatever.
But the thing
Yeah.
is that like you can watch the movie and you see that there's material there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So none of these planets should be at all habitable in any
Yeah,
way,
like-
shape, or form. They should be like
Yeah.
evaporated.
Yeah, because like
Um,
when I was watching this, like, and this is a question I was going to ask you, Aaron, is I've got several, and I'll go down a very small list. Where's the light coming from so these planets can be habitable to maintain in a habitable zone? How is their ozone being, how is the atmosphere being maintained? Because you're so close to a black hole, you think that would get sucked out into space. And just with a black hole, the whole idea is it's such an intense amount of gravity. How does this work? Because
well,
from what I understand, this doesn't seem like it's possible to me.
there's weird things that happen when you get into these supermassive black holes, like this gargantuan, which is a really dumb name.
Oh fuck, I
Um,
hate it. It's so stupid.
It's a
always-
supermassive.
Always consider that no matter how bad and dumb this sounds, it won't be as bad as James Cameron's Unobtainium.
Ugh. So
Right?
this is a supermassive black hole, and when you get into the realm of these kinds of objects, spaghettification actually can happen really, really, really deep inside the actual like event horizon. I.e., you can actually be inside of the event horizon before you start getting spaghettified. So the fact that there's like planets that are orbiting it, that's not the unbelievable thing on it. It isn't. Like they actually do have, fairly good scientific advisors on this. But like it's supposed to not be rotating, but you can see material rotating around it. There is material falling into the event horizon, which means it's going to be emitting radiation. Where does this light come from? It's coming from the superheated material that's surrounding the black hole, i.e., it's going to be giving off huge amounts of radiation after a while as it gets closer to the event horizon and begins moving at near the speed of light. So, yeah, these planets are incredibly irradiated, totally uninhabitable, should have no atmosphere at all, regardless of if they have a magnetic field or not. And the time dilation effects aren't going to be happening because you go down to a planet. It's happening in the entire system.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
So I mean, there's going to be like, I think they do like dock the spacecraft further out from the planet, away from the black hole. So time dilation would be a lesser issue. So when they do go down to the planet and they do have that kind of accelerated time dilation, that sort of makes sense. But like, how are you traveling many, many, many AUs to do this with whatever fuel you have? And I don't know. Like, after a little bit, I just didn't care. I was impressed with the visuals. Like I said, the visuals are really cool. The black hole simulation by itself is truly stunning for somebody that like me that is really into the science of it. But
And knowing like us being computer geeks or science geeks, knowing that on a regular home computer or even like a mainframe at work, it could take hours to render a single frame accurately of what it's showing. And I know from watching some behind the scenes on the movie that to render what they did, it was almost like it was the 90s again. They were taking weeks to render only a couple minute scene.
Oh yeah,
wow!
I bet
because they're modeling it. They like this movie is before we could really harness cloud computing, so still using local mainframe network clusters at whatever rendering farm they were using. So this is about 5 or 6 years before movies could really start to harness distributed computing online. So like it was like weeks and weeks and weeks to render the special effects for this.
Yeah.
Which one thing I thought was kind of neat about this, and then someone should sum up the plot for this movie.
All right. I'll do it.
Interesting robot design. I didn't know what to think about that because again, the robot's on the poster and was in the advertisement, and I'm like, why is like I don't know what those things are called in World War II. They look like sea mines, but they're put on the beach. That's what I thought the
Those are
robot was.
hedgehogs.
Yeah, hedgehogs. I was like, what the hell is that thing? And then the robot starts talking, which it's weirdly sassy. And it was, I don't know. I've never seen a robot like that. I kind of dig the design of it, though, to be quite honest. I thought that was kind of cool. There are some interesting design elements here, although it's weird. A couple, depending on when Alex puts this episode out, we've watched a couple of different movies that are spacey. We've seen Supernova, not great, but interesting design for their ships and robot, although no World War II pilot's cap. We've seen Sunshine, very cool and very interesting spaceship design. Here in this one we have the Endurance and its landers. Again, interesting design, though not as involved as Sunshine, because I like the idea of the oxygen farm and everything like that, and even their EVA suits. Very practical looking, very Martian-esque, I would say.
This is designed for a different purpose. This, like, the ship from the Icarus from Sunshine was not meant to go through a black hole or deal with the gravity that would be involved with going that close to certain bodies. It was like, we're traveling within our solar system for weeks at a time. That's what it was designed for, right? So this is supposed to be designed to withstand weirdness.
Super gravity, yeah. So Alex, try to sum this movie up.
Earth on its last legs, ish. The time loop, but you don't realize it till the end. It's not a full paradox, but it's like
it's a bootstrap paradox.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the idea is the catalyst for them trying to find a habitable planet through a wormhole near a black hole is essentially ghosts, in quotes, of like giving them instructions. And then surprise, surprise, it's Matthew McConaughey writing back in time to try to solve the problem. Basically, them doing the mission to try to save the Earth causes what could potentially be a problem that ends humanity. So they need to solve the problem that they created but didn't know that they created yet. Right?
Yeah.
Mark? Yeah, more or less.
Sort of.
Sorry. It has good actors going through it, and there's at one point, for some reason, is it his house that is put as into multiple planes of existence throughout time?
Yeah, there seems to be a far race of human people, I guess, who live when they establish the colony on the other end of this black hole.
Yeah, so
who build this thing called the Tesseract, which why it's named after the Marvel thing is beyond fucking me, but maybe it means something else. I don't know.
The Marvel thing was named after a real concept of a 4-dimensional cube.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
So essentially, the descendants of mankind are trying to help us create them and save us. It's not very well thought out or explained. The way I'll explain this is the film itself, it was Christopher Nolan's best attempt at doing a Terrence Malick movie, only leaving more questions and being less thoughtful. And for those that don't know, like, Terrence Malick is the director that did like The Thin Red Line, Days of Heaven, The New World, Tree of Life. This was very Tree of Life. This was only a couple years after that. Like, very visually interesting, somewhat philosophical movies. The difference is Terrence Malick sometimes takes 5 or 10 years or more to write and think through his movies, so that they come across as really interesting head scratchers. And this was like Christopher Nolan's like, I can do that look, but not necessarily do that think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because like there's interesting ideas in here. Like there's one point where Michael Caine's character, Professor Brand, is like, look, there are two solutions to this. Number one, we get everybody off Earth, but I have to solve this problem involving gravity. But I can only do that if I get direct observation from inside of a black hole. Not going to happen. He's like, or there's a plan B. And plan B is we go through this wormhole, we find these habitable planets, to which there's only 3 or 4 of them. Okay, sure, whatever. But we can't bring everybody. And Matthew McConaughey's character, who is named Cooper, is like, well, okay, so what's your fucking plan? And that's where we bring out the good old rack of eggs. What am I talking about? There's 5,000 samples that weighs about 30 pounds. And it's literally a rack of fertilized eggs that will allow genetic diversity on this planet. So we're not getting like inbreeding. So if we have to restart Earth as a species, we have a possibility. Then the astronauts raise the first generation, and then that generation after that will start raising, and we can actually build a colony. Not on like a Halo sort of thing, but it's like, okay, and you're right, Alex. It's like, it's not as well thought out as it should have been. Like, there's cool idea here. It's because, like, the reason why we have to get off Earth is, like, plant life and certain crops are dying. It started with, like, I don't know, I guess other types of plants, but eventually now it's affecting corn. It's going after okra and stuff like that. And there's these massive dust storms, which they never really go into reasons why it's happening. I was like, hey, and
I guess it's hinted at global warming, likely.
Yeah, and just it's so weird, and it's not really well explained, and it bothered me.
It's a case of Christopher Nolan hires all the right people.
Mm-hmm.
He pinpoints, I want this to look as realistic as possible, but what he didn't do was hire a script doctor to look at his script and go, does the script make sense? The science for the most part doesn't fall apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very visually appealing. Where it falls apart is him not understand. He hired people that understand the science. He doesn't understand it. And because he doesn't understand it, he's trying to go with, well, this makes sense to me, and I want the emotional core to be there. But what he's missing is he went hard science, and then didn't apply that to the basics of the plot.
Yeah, because like there's some interesting ideas here, and I know I've said that a few times, and there's even some dialogue that I really like. At one point, they come across one of the original astronauts because they sent a crew through like 10 years ago, but to them it's only been X amount of time, and they randomly discover Matt Damon is still alive, so Martian 2.0. And he's gone nuts, and he thinks he's going to get home and get rescued. But he gives this really interesting speech where he talks about the survival instinct of man. And he's like, did you know when most people die, if their parents, the last thing they see is their kids, which forces survival instinct? And I'm thinking, okay, that's a really clever line, but not in this movie. And you're right, Alex. It's like he hires all the right people, but the logic is not there to push it forward. And much like Aaron, like you've said, you don't care, and that really sucks, because I get the idea that there's these giant stakes. It's the very survival of the species. It's the very core of, are we going to go out? And they keep referencing, there's this poem, it's like rage against the dying of the light, rage against your own demise, and be defiant until your very last breath you take. And again, I get what it's trying to say, but I don't resonate with it. And like I said, like I was really afraid when I came into this today, I was going to say these thoughts, and I was going to have you guys say, man, Mike, you're fucking stupid. and it's just like,
no, there's a reason I chose to say, hey, let's do one film at a time, because I think it would have been a bit much. And Ad Astra has interesting concepts as well. So that, when we review that, or if depending on the order that comes out, you'll find some concepts that are the same, but very different execution. And I can say this, it's worth watching. This isn't a case of we're saying avoid it. It's worth giving it a watch, see 100%. What you think. It's visually interesting. I know that in some form, this influenced the look and feel of bigger budget, more science-based films in the future, like more recently even. But I'll say this: Matthew McConaughey doesn't have a great track record. He's only ever done 2 science fiction films. This and Contact. Both have interesting concepts, both have poor execution.
See, and
Okay.
I think I liked Contact better than this.
I've actually never
Yeah.
seen Contact. I'm very curious to
So
see it.
add that to the list, buddy.
So here's a question I want to ask the room, because you guys have a much broader understanding of sci-fi. Like, I like the action, like Aliens and Terminator, more fun popcorny stuff. So you guys understand science fiction cinema better than me. So I'm going to ask you this. Why do you think Hollywood has such a hard time adapting high concept ideas? Like I said, because we've tackled stuff like Sunshine, interesting idea, good science advisors, poor execution. Supernova, here's a cool idea that we read about on like the internet, James Spader, and it doesn't translate. So then you get a popcorn movie like Day After Tomorrow.
I think it's a
and people
simple
like it.
simple answer, but I'll let
Okay.
Alex. Yeah.
Yeah,
go.
okay. My thoughts, not being part of the industry or anything, is I think there's a few reasons, but the main reason is executives that are trying to sell ads and trying to sell tickets don't think that the wider audience would understand something or be interested in something. They think the average viewer is too dumb to want to see that unless it has quote unquote highly exciting moments.
Yep, exactly. It's all down to the studios and everything saying smart stuff doesn't put butts in seats. We need to have popcorn chewers sit in the seats, and therefore we need to have X, Y, and Z.
And even though it's been proven that sometimes when things slip by and they do end up having a thoughtful, good movie, it does make money. It's that when they're trying to finance it and they're like, this is a case of, I think the budget for this was like north of 150, 160 million before marketing. That the only reason this gets made is he's like, we're going to have some crazy visuals and he goes, I'm not going to make it too hard to understand. He'll say that, whether or not it comes out that way. But the reason this gets made without having interference is he had just made 3 Batman movies that made like $3 billion worldwide. So he was given basically a blank check, like, if you can make this for under 200 million, make it, and then we can market it as your prestige science movie, even if it doesn't have the execution. And like, I don't believe that there were any notes given here saying, make it more exciting, make it more this, but I do think the marketing was heavily influenced. Like, the marketing for this, the trailers don't really represent what it is.
No, not at all. Like, honestly, I couldn't even tell you what the trailers were trying to tell me. All I knew is black hole and stands in water. I'm Matthew McConaughey. Literally, that's all I remember, because the trailers told you nothing. And again, if I'm misremembering this, please tell me on social media or email us, because like, this movie feels like it was everywhere, but it told you nothing. And it's infuriating, because you're right. Like, they want to sell a movie, but to your point, Aaron, it's like, here's an exciting moment, go see this. But in this movie, the exciting moments, there's a couple. There's a random fight scene where Matt Damon tries to kill Matthew McConaughey, and randomly a tower of or a 3-foot wall of water, or a 3-foot water world turns into a wave the size of Mount Everest for some reason. And okay, there's your action moment. There's your trailer shot. And I don't know.
I'll tell you one mixed message in this that was like a little. It was right at the beginning of the movie, and it was when McConaughey sees that drone flying over.
Yeah,
and people are starving, right? Food is completely failing, and he terrasses through however many miles worth of cornfields, destroying X amount of
crops. Yeah,
just to get to a drone that crashes anyway. Like,
that
what are you trying to say here?
Yeah. I mean, like, you're both right. Like, this movie's worth a watch at the very least. I'm not saying go out to your local store and buy the 4K Blu-ray, but I feel, like I said, I feel very underwhelmed. And I'm not going to say that I was lied to, because I'll admit, when a movie gets really hyped up, I get excited for it. I love when something captures a moment in time. And I really feel because like you said, Alex, Christopher Nolan had just made 3 Batman movies, billions of dollars. The guy could literally do no wrong. Inception had come out in like 2000, what, 11 or something like
20
that?
yeah, like basically it came out between the Batman movies, made a bunch of money. The Prestige made a bunch of money, and they are flashy, interesting, basically flashy, interesting concepts with some pseudoscience involved. And
Yeah.
they're like, well, he's like, I want to make my I feel like he's like, I want to make my Oscar bait movie, and and also make it sci-fi. And they're like, okay. And it made money, because it made money. But then he's like, I want to make a my real Oscar bait movie. So he makes Dunkirk, and that makes like 3 times its budget back, and obviously was done well. Even Tenet, like he's one of the directors that can really do no wrong as far as box office, because that came out during, like, a lot of places were still in lockdown, and it made 370 million on a $200 million budget. People thought it was going to lose so much money, and it didn't. And then Oppenheimer comes out and it makes $1 billion. And that he finally got his big epic high budget Oscar movie. So he can do they let him do whatever he wants. The Odyssey, which is coming out in that's his next big movie, unless it gets pushed sometime in the next 6 to 7 months. It's got $250 million budget. Very few people are getting that nowadays if it's not a big IP, comic book franchise, right? So he gets for all the complaints I might have about some of the stuff, he's one of the few guys that is doing original movie ideas that actually gets butts in seats. So it is there. I will say this, my final thoughts on this is, it is interesting that this was the last project that his brother worked with him on, for whatever reason. I think they split and went 2 different ways. Jonathan Nolan, at one point, was basically his right hand. He wrote the film. Sort of. He wrote the basic treatment, and then from what I've heard, Christopher Nolan did some heavy editing to it. So, and I don't know if that was a point of contention between the brothers, because I had known his brother Jonathan for being, his brother wrote the Batman films. He wrote The Prestige and Memento, basically the best films that they worked on together, right? And since the split, Nolan's films have gone down the same path that this did, like Christopher Nolan's, but his brother has gone on to basically leave movies behind and work on television on high-end prestige projects. Most notably, he was the series creator and head writer for the Westworld TV show for HBO.
That's cool.
And then he's the head writer and creator of the Fallout TV show.
Oh, I didn't know that. Very cool. Yeah,
so
that definitely tracks.
So, one of the brothers is a much better writer, and he's not Christopher. Right? So it's pretty clear, like, they haven't worked together at all since this movie. So I don't know if there was a split, for reasons of butting heads or ego or something, but I wonder if they ended up working together again, and they let Jonathan be the writer, if we would start to see a change to being more thoughtful, and maybe, like, because I have a feeling that he left and did TV because HBO and Amazon and Apple and all these people, they're giving him the freedom to, they're not meddling with his scripts, because he has the clout of making all this crazy money with his brother on the films like this. And then all of the shows and stuff he's working on are getting, like, tons of awards now. So it's interesting. It's a good. We also have to look at the context. In 2014, there was not a lot of good science fiction coming out. You could argue that there was fun stuff from Marvel. When you're talking the comic
Age of Ultron, I think was that year, maybe.
There's like fun popcorn sci-fi, but there was not high concept sci-fi really hitting theaters at all. And this might have sparked a small. I don't know how big the resurgence was, but after this, I don't think, if this hadn't come out, we wouldn't have had Ad Astra being greenlit. We might not have had, I forget if The Martian came out before this or after, but
before,
Um,
I think. And Gravity, I think, was also previous to this as well, I think.
Oh,
maybe
Gravity was
right
fantastic.
around that same time, and you've had a bunch of higher concept films like that are more grounded in sci-fi. Science, like it wasn't a focus, and then this one made a ton of money, and I feel like we can thank it for that, for being influential in the modern era of letting them actually greenlight, maybe some more thoughtful stuff. But upon rewatching, the special effects hold up 100%,
Oh,
a
yeah.
decade on. But beyond that, it's it's what I expected, and I was interested to see what you guys would think.
All right,
Yeah,
Aaron, your thoughts?
I mean, like you said, the special effects are what really stand out to me. They hold up very well. I absolutely love the spaceship design. I love the spacesuit design. Yeah, all of that is just truly amazing. And I have to give credit where credit's due in that regard. But don't, I'm not interested in the characters. I'm not really that interested in what's going on because in general it's sort of telegraphed exactly what was going to happen from uh you know I almost called it 100% but not quite what was
Yeah,
going to happen um
and
even before they leave Earth.
we should probably make mention with the special effects and everything. Kudos to them doing the smart thing and hiring Kip Thorne to do their consulting for the Gravity and for a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
hired like prestigious, legitimate, worldwide thought leaders on the science within the film.
Yes, absolutely. And I will also even go so far as to say that the music is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But it tends to drown out dialogue. And
Yeah.
not
That's what I
I'm
say
missing
when I
much of
say
the
I don't like
dialogue.
his. That's what when I say I don't like his audio design. The mix is always a little off.
Yeah, so I mean, my opinion, like I said, it's on the low end of average. So, I'm not going to say don't watch it. I think it should be watched. I think it's actually worth watching, but watch it for the technical aspects of it, rather than the plot, the emotional stuff. I mean, you could probably get something out of it emotionally. I can see people doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because I think the Murph storyline had a lot of potential to really hit hard for some people. I can see that it didn't hit for me at all, for whatever reason. But yeah, I don't know. It's a hard movie to really pin down for me, what is really truly wrong or right about it, besides the special effects being really good and the technical aspects being good. What really was the biggest problem? I don't know. I mean, if I gave it out of 10, it would be like a 4 out of 10.
It's an experience more than an actual film.
Yeah, like I think for my final thoughts on this, yeah, I definitely think it's worth watching. And there were some emotional moments that hit. Like I said, I like the idea of the Murph storyline where he leaves his daughter behind and she spends her entire life being angry, but eventually they reconcile on her deathbed and her telling him to leave so she can be with her family in her final moments, sort of as if to say, I grew up, Dad. I had a life without you here, but it's okay. I'm not mad at you. I'm like, okay, I get that. I love the idea of no matter what, humanity got the win that it needed on both ends. We were able to save people. We have a new colony. That's cool. I like parts of this. I wish I had been able to get the experience I had built up in my mind, and maybe that's a me problem because
Well,
I love getting into hype. I do.
and furthering this plot point, when I mentioned that game Exodus, I had completely forgotten that McConaughey's announced as being the celebrity voice actor for the game. It hasn't been revealed whether or not he's like the narrator or like I think he's going to be like the voice of the ship's computer or something to that extent. But the people developing that game, which is all about time dilation and all this sort of stuff, they clearly were inspired at least by him being in this movie because they pulled him specifically to be in their game. So we'll see more about that. So maybe it'll be like a situation where the writers for Mass Effect are the ones that end up giving you the type of movie that, or type of game that Interstellar wanted to be as a movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, guys, we are going to be taking a look at more movies in this vibe. We're going to be looking at Ad Astra. We've mentioned Gravity. I would love to have a chance to revisit that again. So, yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff coming here up on the show. So, once again, thank you for joining us today here on the show. So, from the wilds of Lansing, Michigan,
I'm Aaron Pollyea.
from the wonderful land beyond space and time in Kitchener,
Alex, the producer.
and I've been Mike the Birdman, stuck in the egg rack with the other 5,000 embryos saying, I still don't know what the fuck happened. Anyway, guys, I've been Mike the Birdman. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. We'll catch you guys again next time right here on thisweekingeek.net.
Time. One shall stand, one shall fall. Why throw away your life so recklessly? That's a question you should ask yourself, Megatron.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's right, Mr. Peabody.
Quiet, you.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
You don't understand.
I do. I understood that reference.
Mission successful. Shutting down.